Do you tell your customers to wait or do you take on more work? It's not that simple. Regardless of the size of your business, of the scale of your business, you have to ensure that you understand your numbers and you have your finger on the pulse of your business. I understand my costs. I understand my overhead. Every hour that I work, I understand how much that I'm making. Hello, 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 hello. I can't hear myself. Now I can. I was listening to something with my headphones on and I adjusted the audio. I guess it would be output, but it's input into my headphones. And I couldn't hear myself talk. Makes it difficult. I'm so used to hearing myself talk on this thing. um, that's going to come back to shoot me in the foot. Oh, well. How's it going, everyone? I hope your week's going all right. This week is a little bit different. I have a listener email that I'm getting back to. As far as my life, my business, we passed building inspection on my project yesterday, which would be Monday. Today, I met with the insulator, got them started. Wednesday, drywall guy is coming by to ensure he has a board count for what he needs done. I have our insulation inspection scheduled for tomorrow. And then Thursday, I'm meeting with the roofer and to go over what we have as far as scope there and get him a check. And then Friday, let's see, what's Friday? I forget what Friday is. Something's happening floors are getting delivered on Friday. So we're moving along. It's exciting. Drywallers are also starting Friday. So we should be closing things in next week, getting some tape coats on, sanding, priming, and then the following week, which would be, I believe, the week of the 21st, hardwood floors will be getting installed. So I'm going to have the floors delivered Friday. The floor sub will come and look everything over. And then we'll keep everything in a separate space just so it's not terribly affected by the humidity and moisture of all of the drywall work that's getting done. And then as soon as they are done and done priming, we'll break down that plastic, open up the space so we can get to floor installation, floor sanding, floor finishing. So we're moving along. I'm excited. This week, it's a bit of an odd week family wise as well. Selby is at her sleepaway camp this week. So the girls go to camp all summer. It's like an outdoors type camp. It's ran by the YMCA. But they go there for day camp during the summer because Rachel and I have to work. Rachel works from home now, so it's impossible to work from home with um, them home. Kids are insane. They really are. I love them so much, but they're insane and they're a lot of work and they demand a lot and they don't say please, they don't say thank you. Just very needy creatures. I don't think I was that needy as a kid. I probably was. No, our girls are good, but they're a lot of work. I take them in small spurts. I love them the most when they're sleeping. They're so cute. They're quiet. They're generally showered. They smell good. As soon as they wake up, I'm like, you sure you don't want to go back and be a sweet little self, sleeping in bed, looking so cute? So yeah, she's Selby's away for a week of sleepaway camp. She does not have her watch on. There's no contact. If you needed to contact them or it was an emergency, you can contact them, but we do not have contact with her for a week. So that's interesting. So Tilly's here alone. She'll spend a couple of days with Rachel's parents. I'll work late one night and then maybe do something for myself. And then I think Rachel and I are going out Friday night. What else is going on? I got tattooed last week. It had probably been a year since I had been tattooed. It hurts. I don't love getting tattooed. I didn't ever really love it, but it was tolerable. And then ever since I got my back done, that was just such a long, draining, enduring, and brutal process. Years worth of getting tattooed in spots that are extremely unforgiving and relentless and just hurt the entire time, especially with the subject matter that I got. So it's from my back of my neck to the back of my knees, down my whole back, my butt, back of my thighs, everything, with full background. So it was a very, very long and torturous process, and it obviously covers a lot of space. So at this point, I don't have a ton of free skin left that I am willing to tattoo. I'm not one for getting the hands and neck done while you still have other spots left. I probably would never get my neck done. Hands, debatable. That would have to be well down the road when essentially I'm fully. I feel I'm pretty established. I don't know. It's just tough. It's tough to hide. So my arms stop below my elbows, and then I only have other spots left that I'm willing to tattoo that are really crappy. But I got tattooed on Friday, which would probably been a year since I had been tattooed. There's a very random but very good tattoo convention with a handful of tattooers, many of which I've been tattooed by or are of the same caliber, style, and just what I'm into as far as very traditional tattooing goes. Once a year, about an hour and a half for me. So I try and go once a year and get tattooed and see some friends, people I've been tattooed by. I got to see my buddy Angelo, who runs all the Inksmith and Rogers down in Florida. Love seeing him. He's tattooed me. He's tattooed my wife. Really great guy, super knowledgeable, has been involved with the tattoo community for a very long time. In all seriousness, just a legend in traditional tattooing and tattoo shop. So good to see him. Good to see a bunch of my other friends, and I got tattooed by a guy I've been wanting to get tattooed by for probably a dozen years. I'd always liked his tattoos, and when Rachel and I got married, we went out to San Francisco and then road tripped up the coast and then flew home from Seattle. And this guy, his shop is Atlas Tattoo in Portland. His name's Dan Gilsdorf. But his wife was finishing some schooling in San Francisco, so he would go home, I think, once a month up to Portland. And other than that, he was just working at a shop called Blackheart, um, in San Francisco, which is another really great shop, powerhouse. All really good tattooers. So I got tattooed by a guy named Scott Sylvia there, but Dan was there guesting, but it was more of a long term spot that he was filling, and I wasn't that tattooed at that point that I was going to get multiple tattoos. So I had always wanted to get tattooed by him, but never had an opportunity to. And I had one spot left that had been unfilled for a very long time. I wasn't sure who I wanted to do it, but the more I got tattooed, the more I realized I wanted something that was a little more gentle. It was basically right in the center of my sternum. And I've been brutalized with getting tattoos for so long now that I just really wasn't looking forward to getting something super heavy and saturated right on the center of my chest. So I got a fine line black and gray with some stippling, Sacred Heart with some thorns and daggers. Turned out really dope. Dan was a gentleman. He tattooed my wife as well. She got a little bouquet of poppies on her side, but super gentle. The tattoo turned out amazing. It's healing very well. He was gentle. It was overall, other than sitting in a convention and getting your chest tattooed, like the sternum of your chest, and rib area. It was as enjoyable as an experience as possible, and really wasn't that miserable. Super efficient. The tattoo looks super good. It's healing great. I was happy to finally get tattooed by him and happy to have that spot done so it wasn't hanging over my head. So it's a very noticeable, prominent spot right in the center of my chest. So I wanted something special and somebody to do a nice job there, being that that's what you always see when you're standing in front of a mirror. So thanks, Dan. Super great experience. I love the tattoo. Healing great. Not that he's going to listen to this, but if you guys are out in the Portland area and you want to check out a shop, it's called Atlas Tattoo. It's a cool shop. It's in an old Victorian building, and there's great tattooers there as well as Dan. So that's it. I'll record a actual podcast about work now. This week's a little bit different. I had an email come in from Bo Wheelock. So thanks, Bo, for sending this. I appreciate the support. I am at this point not monetizing this podcast whatsoever. So it is an investment of my time the emails, the DMs, the recording, the writing, all of that is me devoting time week in and week out to this, without really recouping that. So the engagement, the support, the questions, the shares, everything is very appreciative. Um, that's not to say that I won't be looking to at some point offset my costs, hopefully make a little bit of money. But right now, my biggest concern and biggest priority has just been getting this content out for you and being consistent with it, ensuring that it's something that I can manage and it's something that I enjoy. So all has proved to be true, and I'm still running with it. But I do appreciate the emails. I may not get back to them. I'm sure that Bo probably emailed me a couple months ago. I put it in the queue when I'm going through and looking what sparks my interest for that week. Bo's email stuck out to me, based on some things that I've been experiencing, how my company has shifted, having Justin on recently. So it resonated with me. And so I got into record this and write this week. If you haven't checked out the website, it's moderncraftsman.co. You can go and check out the written blogs too. They are of the same tone, as the verbal or audio version of this, but it's also different. I'm this a bit of this on the podcast is ad lib, and the written blog post is more formal. So it has different information in there, as well as this being different information here. So I feel like you should do both of them. Read it and listen, and then circle back with me and let me know what you think. Or if you have more questions or topics that you want to discuss. All right, here we go. So, Bo, thanks again. I appreciate it. Hopefully, this helps you out. Here is Bo's email. Hey, man, I just thought I'd reach out to you and say how much I enjoy the new midweek you've been doing. That's how long ago this email was. I can relate on many levels to the topics you've been discussing. We are in our third year of business full time, and we're getting busy beyond what I can handle myself. Similar to you, I'd rather stay lean and work with a team of subs than a bunch of employees. Would love to hear you talk about dealing with the anxiety of being booked out too far and having to either schedule incredibly far out or tell people no and lose the work. Tough balance that eats at me. Um, so first thing I want to talk about is growth. And everyone wants to grow. Everyone sees everyone growing. I am not against growth. I feel that people grow for the wrong reasons. So you have to question, why do you want to grow? Do you want to make more money? Okay, if you want to make more money growing, you're going to have to invest a lot of money upfront to do that. So if you need money now, a lot of times it's easier to control what you can control and tighten down the reins, tighten down your spending, create systems through sweat equity, and then implement them to make money. So what people don't realize is, okay, I'm going to do twice as much work. Well, your expenses may increase two times that. Maybe they don't increase two times that, but there's more mistakes. Your customers aren't happy because now it's not you on the job and they're not getting the same quality. So you have to figure out why you're doing this. If if it's Bo because you need to get to customers who have worked with you before, or you're afraid of losing the work, are they okay with you expanding and you having less control over the project? And there's certain people who are. If that comes at if you're able to deliver the project to their standard at their price point earlier than anticipated, then maybe it's worth it to them. If it's earlier than anticipated, but it's more expensive or it's not to the caliber that they wanted, then maybe that's not worth it. And now you're changing your business dynamic to suit these customers' needs, when in actuality, they may be fine waiting if they're getting what they want. So you have to figure out why you want to grow, what your program is, what your agenda is, and then what your customers want from you. And it's not necessarily that your customers need to dictate what you do or how your business operates, but if they are hiring you for a specific reason, or whatever you're bringing to the table that differentiates yourself, for certain characteristics of your business and traits of your business, they may not want to use you moving forward if you change that. So the same customers that you're looking to appease may not like the new you. That may be perfectly fine because you may be able to implement business changes that make you more money. It's less headaches, but just be aware that every change that you make It's not, hey, I have twice as many sales, I'm making twice as much money. There's going to be a really long time where you may be making less money and you may be working more hours. So you just need to understand the costs and the burdens associated with either bringing on employees, subcontracting more work. These larger numbers don't necessarily mean larger profit, especially when you look at the overall big picture of how much more you're working. Um, because with all of these people in place and with the business growing, you may have to work twice as much as well. And maybe you're only making 1.5 times more profit. So you're actually making less money per hour. You're just working more. So be aware of that. Excuse me. I can't breathe right now. Give me one sec. Geez, I apologize. I muted my mic earlier because I couldn't breathe. And I started talking again and I did not unmute my mic. So about 3 minutes went by and I don't necessarily look at myself on the live video screen while I'm recording. I don't feel like I'm that vain. So it wasn't until 5 minutes went by that I realized I was not recording anything. My mic was on mute. So back to our regularly scheduled program. I was talking about how implementing these changes within your business, you have to ensure that the numbers actually align and you have a full understanding and a comprehensive understanding of what goes into these numbers and what's making a job profitable. And a lot of times, right, you implement these changes and you need a certain amount of a certain period of time that those changes remain stagnant, right? You implement the change and then you go a certain amount of time and then you can go back and you can inventory and analyze the numbers and create different metrics or gauge the metrics of how your business did, which is really hard to do if you implement multiple changes at a time or if you grow so quickly that you don't have any basis to go off of, right? I can relate this to riding a dirt bike. If I'm having a suspension issue and I change my forks and my shock, so the forks are the front and the shock, if I change them at the same time and it makes it better or worse, I don't know what made it better or worse. You have to change one thing at a time. So if I change something on my forks, it's like, well, it made it a little bit better. I can continue to work on that before I mess with the back, or the other way around. You don't, when you change two things at once, it's affecting the bike in too many ways that you don't know what's actually working and what's not. Maybe the bike would work better if you didn't touch the back in the first place. It feels better than what it was before, but it would have felt better, even better than that had you just messed with the fork. So it's the same thing. There's settings on your forks and your shock, compression and rebound. I don't like to change them both at one time because now I'm like, I don't know if the compression adjustment is making this feel better or the rebound or maybe both, combination, neither. You just don't know what's going on. So whenever I make any sort of a change, I like to implement one change at a time and then let enough time go by that you can properly and accurately assess your numbers, and make an accurate assessment, inventory of what's going on, and you have accurate metrics to be making a decision. A lot of times with the growth, everything's happening so quickly that it's really hard to assess how each change is affecting your business. You just make it work and you chalk a lot of it up to inexperience or learning, or these are changes and we're going to be investing. But it's like, you know, I hired 3 employees and my perspective is going from 0 to employees to 3 employees, and maybe the sweet spot's two, maybe the sweet spot's one full-time and one part-time, but you didn't get there. You just went to 3. So maybe at that point you're like, well, I need more, when in actuality it should be less. So I think that a gradual change is oftentimes good for us because we don't have the business acumen of other industries. We don't have the rule book, the playbook. It's not, our industry is not as standardized, and I think that this is somewhat of the thorn in the side of our industry, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon. And again, there's no right or wrong here. How people grow, your risk tolerance, e- everyone is different. Um, I can only explain to you the way that I look at things and how I gauge these decisions. So I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, what do you want? Why do you want to grow? And what costs are you willing to live with? Is it a financial burden that you're willing to live with at first? Is it a sweat equity and investment of your time? Because with changes and evolution and adaptation, it's not going to be it's not going to be the seamless transition where you're going to go from one point to another. There's going to be a step forward, two steps back, three steps forward, two steps back. It changes and it's not consistent. And there's so many things to consider, that you have to realize. What cost is it worth to you? I'm not one to force something if it's not working. I like to be very calculated. I like to know my numbers. I like to know that I'm profitable, and I like transparency. Even in the most complex of jobs, I like transparency to know I'm making money doing this. And that's the best setup for me. That may not be the best setup for you, Bo, but you need to figure out what is and what you're willing to invest in order to get there. Another suggestion, if you give yourself that time and it's not working, don't be afraid to sever ties, start over, try something else. A lot of times keeping that thing on board may or not be the answer, but you have to try something else. Bring something in, change something, but try and do that one change at a time. So my current model of an employee part-time help with a more robust subcontractor pool, it really works for me financially, emotionally, personally. This is not always the case, and it has not always been the case. I've established a reputation at this point where I can command a premium for my time with the tool belt on, for my time in the office, for my design time, for my time managing subs, and for my time managing employees. That that's how I've established myself. That's the reputation and the niche that I've developed, and that's where I'm happiest. Is it where I'm the most profitable? Maybe not. Is it where I make the most money? No. Is it the situation that allows me and affords me an opportunity to get to my customers on the timeline that they feel is ideal? No. But mentally, I feel the best. Physically, I feel the best. Financially, it's manageable for me and my family. Again, there's other opportunities and career paths and decisions that I could make that would make me more money, but at what cost? Are they going to compromise my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health, my relationship with my family, my free time? Um, you have to take all of those things into consideration. So personally, I can live with either telling potential customers no or having return customers wait. That creates less anxiety and pressure for me, um, than bringing 3 or 4 people on or doing twice 2x the amount of work, because I know that I just don't handle that well. So you have to weigh the opportunity cost, you have to weigh the cost on yourself, the financial implications of this, and you have to determine a path that makes the most amount of sense for me. I understand that my business model is limited. I'm going to be limited by the amount of sales that I can make in a year. So I don't have an opportunity to have $2 million in sales. So how do I make the money that I make? I control the costs that I can control. I get paid for my management. My markups are appropriate. So while my sales are lower, my profit margin is probably considerably higher than somebody doing a lot more work. So I might be able to do less work than somebody else who has more employees and does more work, but I may be making the same, if not more money. And that's not just because I'm lucky. That's not because of the market I'm in. That's because that's the way that I structured myself. I structured my business to create scarcity, um, to not have to do a high volume of work, to have an attention to detail, to be able to perform live-in remodels and to handle every aspect of that renovation so that I can maximize my profit. So that if I'm on the job, I'm getting paid regardless of what I'm doing. If I'm doing paperwork, I'm getting paid. And that's the model that I set up. And there's certain customers who are willing to wait for that, and there's certain that aren't. But those customers' needs are not going to dictate how I operate my business and what I do to be successful in business. Right now, I could give up control. I could hand over the reins. I could do more work, but for what? If I enjoy my family time, if I enjoy riding my dirt bike, if I financially feel secure, right? I'm not creating extreme wealth, but financially I feel secure. I don't care what Instagram or social media or the entertainment industry tells you, but I'm okay with that. I can live a happy life doing that. I don't need a ton of extra things and material possessions to make me happy. Could we save more money if I took on more work? Yes. But again, at what cost? So I can spend less money, less time with my family, so I can work more to pay for things. It has to be that balance that you're speaking of, Bo. Um, and you have to find a model that really works for you. And I think that at the end of the day, regardless of the size of your business, of the scale of your business, you have to ensure that you understand your numbers and you have your finger on the pulse of your business. Find what works for you, and what works for me is going to be different than what works for you. It depends on your labor pool. Depends on the market that you're in. It depends on the cost of materials now versus 6 months from now. It depends on how much you have to pay employees, um, how long you've been in business, what your general liability insurance. There's every single thing goes into every residential business that makes each business independent of each other. And again, I feel that that is the thorn in the side of our industry. But if I can't do anything to change that, I need to worry about myself and my business. And I look at my costs. I understand my costs. I understand my overhead. I understand when I have an employee and I'm paying them or I'm subcontracting, what that's actually costing me, how much I'm paying in taxes, where my profit is, so that every hour that I work, I understand how much that I'm making. I may not be able to say I'm going to make X amount next year. That depends on how my jobs go, what I have lined up, and what I can charge customers. But I know that I keep a steady um, line of work to down the road. Like, I have a backlog of work and return customers who are willing to wait for me, and that I have enough work lined up to keep myself and my family good for X amount of time. And that's just where I feel I'm happiest, and where I do my best work, and where I'm the least stressed, and where I'm the best husband, the best father. So while this may not be the single solitary answer that you are looking for, hey, do you tell your customers to wait or do you take on more work? It's not that simple. And I've been in business for 13 years. I've been doing this for a lot longer, but how I feel now is different than how I felt 13 years ago. How I feel now is different than how I feel 3 years ago. So it's been an evolution. It's been a lot of changes, a lot of adaptations, a lot of different versions of TRG, but I've always remained lean. I've always wanted to maximize my profits with given the amount of work and sales that I'm actually doing in a year. And as time goes on, I'm able to refine those costs even more. I'm able to increase my efficiencies, and I'm able to charge a little bit more. So year after year, I'm able to make a little bit more money, a little bit more money, a little bit more money, and I'm exploring other avenues of making money, because realistically, I'm probably, for right now, for this year, capping out at what I feel is fair to charge. Could I land jobs for more? Absolutely. But I want to be fair, because I want to play the long game. I want the customers, like you said, that will wait around for 2 years. If they're willing to hire somebody else because I can't get to them sooner, like, and I lose that job because that contractor is delivering something that I'm unable to deliver, and that's of value to my customers, then so be it. I'm either not doing a good enough job for them to wait in my mind, or they have a different program than I can execute. And that's just the way it is. At the end of the day, I'm a very small company. I'm very lean. I can only do so much work. So if I have the time to get to you, I want that to be very valuable to customers. And again, I could make more money doing things a different way, but I may have to work more. I may lose some sort of mental or emotional peace. It may just complicate my life or require me to take the bags off or not be so involved. So I found what works for me. I found what I've enjoyed, and I found how to maximize the profits doing that through marketing and through execution. And I think that that's what you should do. Find out, why you want to grow, at what cost, what your customers want from you, what your customers like about what you're doing right now, and what the long term goal is for you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Are you creating an outlet or an avenue that's going to lead to long-term sustainability, longevity, success? Or is your vision very short-sighted? Are you just focusing on this year and then next year? Or what's the next job that's on your plate? And again, I think it needs to be a balance. You obviously have to make sure that there's money coming in, but I don't think you need to account to know everything that's going to happen in 5 years and in 10 years. I think that you need to be smart and intelligent and responsible, and line things up that way. So, Bo, I appreciate the email. I hope that this helps you. I would suggest hopping online, www.moderncraftsman.co, and reading this blog post a little less off the cuff, a little more informative, some more specifics for you regarding business, how I'm set up, how I'm established, and the reasons why I make the decisions that I do. So definitely check that out. Feel free to share and keep sending the questions along. I hope you guys have a good week. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my week with one less kid, and hopefully spending some time with Rachel alone on Friday night. All right, guys, I'll see you next week.